Thank you so much, Chair. As mentioned by several speakers, many policy platforms have recognized the necessity on interlinking relief, development, and peace building. It came after the endorsement of the FFA. But these policy platforms remain very ambiguous in their interpretation of this interlinkage into policies and actions, and their treatment of human rights and root causes. So endorsing such concepts without a clear interpretation of what they mean, particularly the concept of peace, as Ahmed has said, could reinforce the status quo through preserving underlying causes. It is extremely necessary for the CFS to coordinate and engage with other platforms to utilize the FFA. The FFA was a product of 3 years of intense consultations and negotiations with the involvement of all actors. It's much more advanced in its guiding principles. The CFS could invite other policy platforms to develop collectively an implementation plan that includes coordination, collaboration, and monitoring structures for different contexts. CFS, as the foremost inclusive international and intergovernmental platform on food security, should provide space to discuss actors' distribution of roles. This is what we have said 5 years ago after the endorsement of the FFA, and we would like to repeat it today. Let us not wait for another 5 years to realize this crucial step and fail the many affected communities that were involved in preparing the FFA. The implementation plan should address the issue of mandates. Will collaboration among the usual actors be sufficient? Do we need to expand our mandates? Do we need to involve new actors? In all cases, funding should be directed at developing comprehensive approaches and identifying best practices. We have observed that funding for peace and addressing root causes is still negligible in comparison to humanitarian and development aid. In fact, we have observed that humanitarian and development aid is undermined greatly by funding for obstructions to peace, such as militarization, which systemically targets food systems. The message we collectively got out after the high-level expert forum in 2012 is that sustaining conflicts around the world incurs enormous costs on people's lives and well-beings, but it also has huge economic and security costs for us all. We need to mobilize political will to move again in the right direction. As individuals in our posts, as organizations, and as governments, we can all have an impact. We, as civil society, have put great effort in dissemination and use on the national and regional level, but we found ourselves restrained when we tried to build momentum with other actors. We call on CFS members and participants to have a greater role on the national and regional level, always in partnership with civil society and affected communities. We urge governments to provide multi-actor platforms on food security that can facilitate such discussions. The current humanitarian clusters, the development forums, also coordinated by the UN, most commonly exclude local civil society organizations. We are very happy, for instance, that FAO is using the FFA and urge FAO to ensure civil society involvement and engagement in all its activities on the national and regional level and the international level. We can do much greater and much more together. We have put down in our report strategic recommendations on dissemination, implementation, and monitoring in 4 different UN languages. And the civil society organizations and the CSM is ready to assist in taking these recommendations forward. Thank you so much, Chair.